It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
It's that time for your weekly cup of coffee from Slumberland at the lake. I'm Wild Will.
I'm Uncle Chris.
And Uncle Chris, this week it's officially offshore season. The great treasure hunt over the weekend, we'll tell you about that. Plus, we got an update from the Anglers Outpost Lodge. You remember that?
I do remember that. That's a big deal.
Broke about a year ago. We'll tell you about that, plus some headlines for volunteers needed in the patrol boats. Hey, you want to get close to races for Shootout Offshore?
That's the way to do it.
Coming up, well, we're going to tell you how you could do that. Plus, we saw a letter to the editor about doctor shortages in America and what might be causing that. We'll respond to that and more on this week's Cup of Coffee. But first, this message from our friends at Slumberland.
Hey everybody, it's Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland Furniture at the Lake. We're inside the big tent today, and we've decided to carry it over for a couple more weeks. We spent all morning bringing new product out. There's something new in the tent every day. Not only are you getting the great discounts, but we're also doing 0% interest financing on these items. Don't forget, we deliver the entire lake area. Come see us at Slumberland Furniture, where we're bringing happy home.
The biggest names in music visit Lake of the Ozarks in 2025 at the Ozarks Amphitheater. Get ahead of the crowd with the Ozarks Amp Fan Club. Score pre-sales, announcements, special offers, day of show details, and so much more. The best part is, it's free to join, but you've got to sign up to beat the crowd. Visit ozarksamp.com and score big with Missouri's #1 outdoor music venue, the Ozarks Amphitheater. We'll see you under the stars.
A cup of coffee as we wake up, in the car, or right here on Lake TV with Will and Chris. Kind of like driving, we do it every single day.
But we shouldn't do it while distracted. Did you know that drivers who text are 23 times more likely to be in a crash? So keep your eyes on the road and always remember to buckle up and put your phones down.
This Drive Safe, Boat Safe message brought to you by Price and Randall Injury Attorneys.
Now back to your cup of coffee with Will and Chris.
All right, so as we get started this week, I wanted to talk about an event we attended over the weekend, the Great Shootout Treasure Hunt this year at Frankie and Louie's.
Yeah.
And boy, for a first-year event at Frankie and Louie's, obviously this event been around for a while. Huge crowd at Frankie and Louie's. You seen the video or?
I don't think I have seen any video of that. There was a good turnout?
Yeah, a record 408 diggers.
Wow.
They had over
you know what? I did see the video of that, yeah.
like everyone storming the beach.
Yes.
It was a madhouse. It was awesome. We were there with my wife, Unique, and Brinley. We were there, met a bunch of our friends that have young ones, and we're also participating. And I mean, it was packed. I had never seen Frankie and Louie's like that, but that's officially kickoff to shootout season, right? Every year.
Pretty much.
And so now we look forward to Shootout Offshore. It's coming in June, the 21st and the 22nd. And we'll go ahead and go right into, just like we got this press release that, hey, you want to be on the course or get close to the races coming up June 21st and 22nd. Well, boat patrol volunteers are needed, according to this from our friends at LOA.
Well, and it's 2 days, Saturday, June 21st, Sunday, June 22nd. It says you can volunteer for one day or for both days, and they're saying, hey, it doesn't really matter what kind of vessel you have, anything will work. It's pretty amazing, really. So if you like that, getting out on the water, being close to the action and stuff like that, like this is a dream come true.
Sure. You get to be a patrol boat, and you can sign up or get more information by emailing admin assist, ASST, at loawatershed.com. You see it right there on your screen, or you can just call or text the number on your screen, 573-434-4400, and that's sneaking up.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're in June and offshore is just a couple
it's
weeks
like
away.
right here, right now. And it says no boat, too big or too small, opportunities for all, so jump in on that. If you like being on the water and kind of being a part of that mix, man, that is like a dream come true.
Yeah, cool opportunity there. All right, so hey, I wanted to catch us up on the Anglers Outpost in Osage Beach. If you remember, it was May 8, 2024. I got a press release sent to me from Dan Buck with Anglers Outpost Lodge. That was just over a year ago. And according to the initial press release, it was a 9-acre new development alongside Osage Beach Boulevard, just a half mile from the public boat launch at PB2, right there next to Dollar General. Easy access to KK and 54. The first phase was supposed to have 24 suites with 48 sleeping rooms over 4 huge buildings. Each was going to have a 60 by 12 foot garage, big enough for a truck and trailer combo attached, right?
I mean, perfect for fishermen and everything like that,
Yeah, and on top of that, each unit was going to have 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a kitchenette, everything you really needed to come down and fish in a tournament or get away to Lake of the Ozarks. It was also going to have clubhouse, golf simulator, arcade table games, outdoor barbecue, and fire pits. And the initial press release said they'd have a groundbreaking in June of 2024, open in the winter of 24-25, with July 20 of 24 website reservations available at that point in time. Well, Lake Expo came out with an update in January of 2025, and Dan Buck, who is listed in this article as the VP of Patriot Equity Partners, which are a Missouri-based company, initially listed as the investor group, now the project developer, they said they worked through a few construction delays and would open by the end of 2025. Well, I happened to see in the weekly report, City of Osage Beach sends over every week their agenda for their upcoming meeting, and I happened to see this last week that on the agenda there was a bullet that said Anglers Outpost ordinance to approve a $13 million revenue bond something, which I then asked the city. I was like, okay, it was the May 30th board agenda that said Bill 2548, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach to issue its taxable industrial revenue bond, Anglers Outpost Project, Series 2025, in a principal amount not to exceed $13 million for the purpose of providing funds to pay the cost of acquiring, constructing, and improving an industrial development project in the city, and authorizing the city to enter into certain agreements and take certain other actions in connection with the issuance of bonds. And this was going to be the first readings.
Right.
So I asked the city, is this similar to a TIF? And Jamie Rutledge, who's been great.
She's amazing.
She said, and this is word for word, said Anglers Outpost is seeking Chapter 100. It was discussed in detail at the last board meeting on May 15th, which is available not just on YouTube, but on the city's website about 45 minutes in. And this is the final ordinance for approval. So this is just for them to approve the ordinance. Now they're going to have their first reading for this Thursday, June 5th, which is this week. By the time you watch this, it may have already happened. And then the second reading will be June 19th. Now, please note that the regular Board of Aldermen meeting has been moved to Tuesday, June 17th from Thursday, June 19th, as that's Juneteenth, a federal holiday, and they'll send out a meeting change reminder closer to the date. So Jamie Rutledge says this is not a TIF. The department comments and recommendation section sums it up best. The proposed ordinance approves a Chapter 100 taxable industrial revenue bond in connection with the Anglers Outpost project. You can take it away from there.
All right. It says the purpose of the bond transaction is to facilitate 15 years of partial real property tax abatement consistent with the term sheet previously approved by the Board of Aldermen pursuant to the resolution. 95% for years 1 through 10, 75% in year 11, 60% in year 12, 45% year 13. So it keeps going down, 30% year 14, 15,
and that's the abatement percentage that they wouldn't pay real property tax.
It does sound like there are similarities to a TIF. You know, it was interesting, though, when you sent Jamie the question, is like $13 million. Can you explain that, right? And so this is what she came back with. As part of the bond transaction, the city will ultimately obtain title to the proposed project, making it tax exempt, and lease it back to the developers for the abatement term. During that term, the developer will make payments in lieu of taxes to achieve the desired level of abatement.
Also known as pilots.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
which if you're a developer, you've looked into this, that may make sense. And it went on to say the industrial revenue bonds issued as part of the transaction will be sold to the developer and are payable from lease payments made by the developer during the abatement term. Whew. The bonds are page 30 of 239 in not secured or guaranteed by the city or any other public funding source. The bond documents have been prepared by Gilmore and Bell as bond counsel to the city. Jamie Rutledge went on to say, which was great news or information at least, was the city of Osage Beach, this is the first time that they would use a Chapter 100.
Yeah.
And that Quaker Windows in Eldon used Chapter 100 through the city of Eldon to support the Quaker campus there during their expansion. So interesting that the Anglers Outpost Lodge, we told you last year, announced as a $7 million project. Well, fast forward a year later, they're working with the city of Osage Beach for a $13 million Chapter 100 tax industrial revenue bond in connection with the Anglers Outpost project. I know there's a lot more details there that I don't understand. You and I both don't get, but I thought that was interesting, and I was appreciative of Jamie Rutledge for sending that information over and helping. Now, the other thing that I saw in that board agenda was the motion to approve the purchase of Microsoft 365 licenses from Communications Square in the amount not to exceed $41,000. And I was like, wait, $41,000 for Microsoft 365 licenses seems a bit much, doesn't it? Like, how many licenses and departments does this entail? To which Jamie Rutledge replied, the Microsoft licenses were sent out for proposal. As the packet states, the bid total was for implementation of 130 licenses, which covers all staff over 14 departments. Details can be found beginning on page 206. So nothing nefarious. I mean, well done, put out for proposal. And I mean, Jamie Rutledge is great. It's made it easy. We didn't have to go do this work, because if we misunderstand what's happening, and we would cause maybe panic or, so at least we know this is directly from the city of Osage Beach in regards to the Anglers Outpost Lodge and this Chapter 100 abatement with bonds and, and it's not a TIF.
It's interesting that Quaker used this in Eldon too, because from everything I've heard, that is just an overwhelming success. That's turned out very well. So, if that was, what they're shooting for here, then it's probably a pretty safe, good thing to do.
Yeah, you couldn't, I have not heard one negative in regards to someone who's worked for Quaker or in regards to what Quaker has done for Lake of the Ozarks and the Eldon communities.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of see that project, right? When you look at the big picture of Eldon, you look at the big picture of Lake of the Ozarks. I mean, that does kind of say, okay, so Chapter 100. Maybe this isn't all bad. Maybe there could be something to this. You look at, like you said, Quakers. So more to come from this. There's no doubt about that, but I appreciated the agenda and was able to ask questions and get rapid answers.
It is amazing how much this has been delayed, though. I mean, when they first came out with the information, it was like, done deal, this is going to be up and running by, 2025 and stuff, and it's still kind of sitting there. So,
and according to Lake Expo's update from January of this year, they said construction delays and kind of pushed it back. And they're still saying, based on everything, it'll be the end. Now, I went to the website and looked, and you can inquire about reservations, but you can't select any hard dates. You have to tell them what your travel dates are. And so, of course, I put in a request to stay in December of 2025, and they said I'd get back with me within 48 hours.
Right.
So just to see what they say about, hey, you gonna be ready by December of 2025?
And that was one of the reasons there was another man cave project that they were thinking of near Osage Beach, Lynn Creek, that they decided not to do, I think because of the Anglers Outpost, and they were going to do a golf thing, and they've kind of put the brakes on that now, it would seem. So there's a whole lot of moving parts there.
No doubt about it. Hey, real quick, I wanted to bring up both the City of Osage Beach Police Department and the Sunrise Beach Police Department, kind of simultaneously within a couple days of each other, but both received the Missouri Blue Shield designation, which is received for a department who has strong commitment to public safety and ongoing support for men and women in law enforcement.
Yeah, I'd never heard of this before.
Well, it's new.
So the Missouri Blue Shield program, created by Governor Kehoe in January of this year, yeah, like you say, it's brand new. Executive order does this, recognizes local governments that make significant efforts to reduce crime, foster law enforcement collaboration, and build strong community participation and partnerships for public safety. Sounds like a great thing, right? And it's kind of cool that a couple of local municipalities win right off the bat.
And not only is it just great because you get the recognition and it's a cool agenda set forth by Governor Kehoe, but you look at the participation incentives. Communities that earn a Missouri Blue Shield designation will receive grant funding for law enforcement training and equipment as part of Governor Kehoe's recommended budget for the state fiscal year 2026. That is big, maybe not as, I'm sure it's huge for the city of Osage Beach, but it's equally, if not more important, for the city or the village of Sunrise Beach, who's operating on a minuscule, budget with their police department. So communities will also be featured on Governor Kehoe's social media pages, as well as the DPS website, to highlight their participation in the program. And both municipalities, the city of Osage Beach and the village of Sunrise Beach, sent press releases. Kudos. Police Chief Scott Craig with the village of Sunrise Beach is really turning things around. I mean, for the village of Sunrise Beach, we get press releases and communication regularly from them as well. And I think this is probably a nod to some of those efforts and work. And we always know, what the city of Osage Beach Police Department is about. And it's great to see them get that recognition.
No doubt. And Susan Schneider, no relation, chairman of the board, Village of Sunrise Beach, said, "We're proud to get the Missouri Blue Shield designation. It shows what can happen when a community pulls together." And she goes on to talk more, but that's a huge honor. It's a wonderful thing. Congratulations for those towns.
And Sue Schneider's been very involved, in a lot of that there in the village of Sunrise Beach. So speaking of the village of Sunrise Beach, this according to KRMS News on Thursday, May 29th, the Missouri Public Service Commission has announced a virtual local public hearing to receive customer input in a request to raise water rates for part of the lake area. This caused my ears,
I bet it did,
to peak. The rate increase filed by the Environmental Utilities, DBA, the Golden Glad Water System, and the Sunrise Beach area in Camden County, I have no idea what any of that means, is seeking a rate increase of $11,000, which would actually represent a change of about 75% in the company's annual water system operating revenue. And there are approximately 22 water customers affected by the requested rate increase. And so I now want to find out if I'm one of those 22.
Yeah, who are the 22?
Even if I'm not, what this means for them. However, you do have time to voice your opinion. And the virtual public hearing by telephone or internet streaming is set for Tuesday, July 8th, starting at 6 p.m. But you must register with the PSC by the end of business. I would imagine it means business day on Monday, July 7th.
What is the PSC?
I have no idea.
Huh, that's weird.
Planning, and
something, something
system,
commission, maybe.
So one of those fancy, governmental terms and, bodies.
I hope you're not one of the 22. Your water rates are going to go up 75%.
Well, I don't want to be selfish, but I hope I'm not as well. I hope no one is, and I don't think this is final. This was a request put in by somebody.
Sheesh.
And I will say that the village of Sunrise Beach has operated on an interesting water system, and anytime they're proposing to do anything, it would cause some concern and definitely some feedback from the locals.
They've had some sewer issues too, right? In Sunrise Beach, which has been a big problem.
Sure.
So hopefully they'll figure that stuff out.
Yep, no doubt about it. Hey, a couple of cool events. One, I wanted to talk about Share the Harvest Food Pantry. It's on State Highway 7 in Camdenton. We consider that Greenview, but their actual address is Camdenton. And we got a letter from their board of directors, and it said, just kind of telling a little bit about the background. It said, greetings. In 2005, a group of like-minded community neighbors had a vision for a resource center on the west side of the lake to help those in need. In the beginning, they were known as the Community Chapel Youth and Family Center.
I did not know that.
I did, only through some of this stuff.
Wow.
I've heard this story before. I couldn't have told you their name out of memory. But a small cabin was a thrift store, and offices and a small outbuilding housed their food outreach operations.
Yeah.
After a couple of years, the community thought they only served a specific demographic. In late 2007, to broaden the community reach, their name was changed to Share the Harvest Food Pantry and Resell Nook, and plans started for their new facility. In 2012, our current facility was completed. Over these past 20 years, Share the Harvest Food Pantry has assisted 1.6 million households, 4 million people with their food and nutrition needs. Furthermore, in the past 20 years, they've given $3 million to assist community households with emergency financial assistance, like utilities, fuel, car repairs, doctor prescriptions, insurance, and rent. However, they say they can't do that without the help from their community, whether it's donations to their wonderful thrift store, donations to help with their fundraising efforts, or monetary donations that people make throughout the year. All those help them meet the needs of their day-to-day operations. And they say, we appreciate you, the community. And with that being said, they'd like to cordially invite you to celebrate with them Friday, June 20th for an open house celebration as they look back on 20 years of serving the community.
Yeah, and we've done some fun stuff with them with Share the Harvest over the years. We've done some tours through there on TV and whatnot, trying to support them and help them. But one of the many great outreaches in our community that really helps a lot of people. I mean, those numbers are amazing. It's assisted 1.6 million households, 4 million people with their food and nutrition needs. Those are huge numbers.
Hey, and another thing that the letter didn't really tell you, you know the name, Share the Harvest. They also have greenhouses.
Yeah.
And they grow fresh produce and things of that nature, and they will give you seeds and instructions on how to grow your own produce. And that's kind of what I believe the Share the Harvest is, right? You teach a man to fish, you know, or you could get him some fish. But I love that idea. And at this event coming up, right, the 20th anniversary on Friday, June 20th, open house from 10 to 4, and they're going to have a short program at 1 p.m. You can tour the facility. They'll have raffles. 50% off their thrift store, which is great. I hope my wife doesn't watch this week's episode. Hot dogs, chips, soda and water, and door prizes. And if you're wondering, that's North State Highway 7.
Yeah.
Like in Greenview there, you go out not far down there on the right-hand side.
Yeah,
pretty cool facility.
Right after you turn off Highway 5 onto Highway 7 going toward Warsaw, it's just like a half mile up the road. It's real easy to get to.
Yeah, and Shayna Avishon, the executive director with them, been very active, and she sent us that, and we'll be excited to attend. So hopefully we'll see you guys there on Friday, June 20th from 10 to 4 p.m. All right, so we saw a lot of cool stuff over the weekend. Like I told you, the treasure hunt was epic.
I do remember that video too. That was cool.
The boats were out on the water. You're seeing a lot of new boats. A lot of the marinas are starting to roll out their 2026 and 2025 closeouts. So you're just seeing all kinds. And we did see something that caught our eye, but there was a letter to the editor on Lake Expo that I saw from Dr. David Lancaster, DO from Columbia, Missouri, dated June 2nd, 2025. And this is directly from Dr. David Lancaster. There is a lot of talk about a shortage of healthcare workers, including physicians. I would like to clarify that much of the shortage is intentionally induced by the hospital systems. Hospitals include a non-compete clause in their contracts. I am a physician who has practiced at Capital Region Medical Center in Jeff City, Missouri for 14 years and was the medical director of their 14-bed inpatient physical rehab center. My non-compete included standard language of not taking patients if I leave, but it goes further, preventing me from practicing medicine in any capacity whatsoever in a 30-mile radius for 2 years. When our hospital was taken over by the University of Missouri, the non-compete was increased to a 50-mile radius and was non-negotiable. So I refused to sign and I left. After almost a year, the hospital has not even tried to fill the outpatient void left by departure. I asked permission to practice in areas that the hospital does not serve, such as skilled nursing facilities, and I was told no. The non-compete clause ties a physician's hands to a hospital. The hospital can make any changes they desire, and the physician has no recourse. If the physician refuses and leaves, then they must uproot their entire family and move to a new location. This creates an access barrier to healthcare in rural America and an overwhelming emotional and financial burden to the physician and their family. Signed, Dr. David Lancaster, DO from Columbia, Missouri, and this was a letter to the editor on Lake Expo. And I thought it was interesting coming directly from a DO in Jeff City, 14 years with Capital Region. And he said when they were taken over by the University of Missouri, not only was the non-compete radius 20 miles was added to that, but when he refused to sign and left, that they've not even tried to fill that void. And so we'll be reaching out to some of our local medical providers and see what we can find out about their non-competes and what that means. But if this claim is true, it would lead you to believe, are some of these hospitals actually wanting to have good healthcare providers, easy access for healthcare for their customers or for their patients, or are they wanting to control and kind of make sure they manipulate the market? Interesting letter coming directly from a DO, right?
Well, you know, and on the heels of everything that happened in 2020 and 2021 with the COVID stuff and the horrible way our medical system was run by the government, you know, with the whole ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine thing, people dying that shouldn't have been dying the way they were being told to treat things. There's a lot of questions about our medical industrial complex right now.
Are we still bozos?
I think we're still idiots and bozos.
Okay, good.
Just to question that, but I hadn't heard that, but that's obviously a problem, especially in rural America, you know. I mean, I hadn't heard that before.
Well, and this is no disrespect to doctors, but any time a doctor is employed by somebody else, you would always have to take what they say with a grain of salt, because that is not 100% theirs. Now, when you have someone who has been with somewhere and leaves and now is willing to speak, I think that is maybe a time to listen. And you might want to be cautious, but I mean, when you're no longer controlled or relying on a paycheck from somebody that tells you what you can and can't do, can and can't say, that might be a time to listen.
That's
so I
interesting.
thought that letter to the editor was fascinating, and we'll let you know what we find out here locally in some of the Missouri. We're going to reach out to Capital Region, University of Missouri, and some of these local Lake Regional. We'll let you know what we find out there, but the doctor shortage in America, the cause may surprise you.
And especially when it hits home locally like that.
No doubt. So, hey, great stuff happening on Lake TV Community Spotlight with Pastor Jeff Higbee, talking about the importance of fathers with Father's Day right around the corner.
You know, it's that time of the year where we celebrate fathers. Fathers kind of get overlooked sometimes. You know, mamas usually get all the, you know, on TV you're watching a football game, the players always say, you know, hello, Mom, love you, Mom, whatever. Dad kind of gets forgotten. But the statistics show how amazingly important the father is in the family and the problems that come up when the father is not there for various different reasons. So we kind of talk about the importance of fathers as Father's Day comes around, give you a few statistics. Kind of cool. So be sure you watch that every day on Lake TV at 9:02, 3:02, 9:02.
And the June monthly market update with Jessica Bruce, the Bruce and Kelly Team Remax Lake of the Ozarks is airing now, and we got a special guest, Mayor David Ridgely from the city of Lake Ozark. We give a inside sneak peek on who this guy is, right? A little of his history, and might be surprised, so make sure you check that out. Plus, Weekend at the Lake with David Leatherberry is back this week with a brand new episode starting Thursday. And just a reminder, the LOZ featured doc series will be back starting Friday, July 11th.
You've already started shooting that, right?
Oh yeah, we're rocking and rolling. We got some cool shorts, and we've shot. I want to give a shout out to Steve Elliott from Dock Dealers. You probably saw the cool fishing contraption we put out Tuesday morning from his dock. But real quick, rapid headlines before we go. TCLA funds to Camden County. Well, that request we told you about from Commissioner James Gohagan with Judge Daniels, that $800,000, they were going to hopefully fund the TCLA, maybe get a 4th of July fireworks bash plan with part of it. Well, nothing yet. Looks like probably going to be a little behind the 8 ball and not be able to get something done there. Hey, Osage Nation, they're doing very well nationally. You know, the Osage Nation Casino Project at the lake, and their ties are getting stronger to Lake of the Ozarks every month. This, according to Dan Geyer's post on Facebook Sunday. Tune in next week to Cup of Coffee, where we tell you what's going on with Osage Nation and track and field locally. Man, a lot of good things to give a shout out to, but one I got to, Landon Childs. My dog, 2-time state champion in the pole vault, not just once, but 2 times, going out on top. And we got a whole lot more coming this summer on Lake TV. But that's going to do it for this week's Cup of Coffee from Slumberland at the Lake. Until next week, my friends, thanks for watching.